Now, broadcasting on Radio Star Worldwide, it's time for Dr. Rademaker's Prescription for Transformation. Let's tap into your own authentic genius and live the life you desire.
You are now listening to...
Join Dr. Rademaker for an enlightened conversation about our brain intelligence, our body intelligence, and our energy intelligence. And now, here's your host, Dr. Bart Rademaker.
Welcome. I'm Dr. Bart Rademaker, Prescription for Your Transformation, real people, real conversations, and real success. And today it's all about tapping into that authentic genius that you have within you. We all have that. As much as sometimes we might think we do not, or others are telling us that we don't, the truth is we do, and you do as well. And so it's all about not knowing the stuff that really will make the difference. So said differently, this prescription for your transformation is about discovering what you don't know that's going to make all the difference. So I'm delighted today to be talking about a part of life that is critically important for our own personal success and fulfillment. What that really means is having the answers to the mechanics, if you will, of how we do what it is that we do. And the cool thing is that over the years, there are so many of these different assessments out there. And oftentimes people are freaking out. Okay, an assessment, it's a test. Am I smart enough? And that was my response to those IQ tests. I never wanted to do an IQ test because I knew I was going to fail. And I knew I was going to fail because I was so freaked out and failing. And it's kind of funny how the brain then works. So there's so many other important and effective and useful and wonderful assessments out there that give you actually a lot more information. The actual IQ test only contributes to less than 20% of your personal intelligence and effectiveness in the world. And so today I'm delighted to be introducing to the world in the United States, live social media interviews, a person that is instrumental in helping you become that person who you really want to be by fulfilling the inner drive, if you will, just fine-tuning that inner drive, that motivation that makes the difference. And I had this experience the other day, and I was blown away, and now having a deeper understanding of myself and the genius. So I want to introduce to you Akeela Davis. Thank you so much for joining me today. And of course, the wonderful Robin, who just jumped in and is saving the day so that we can actually have a live show. So thank you for you both.
Thank you, Dr. Rademaker, for having me on. I'm delighted to be here.
Awesome.
I'm excited to actually hear the show.
Yeah, and Robin, you're going to learn something today. And that's the biggest complaint that I have of everyone else who takes over Sedona's place, because they absolutely love, what they get to hear and learn something. So, and as I'm going to learn today about even more about myself, because Akeela is going to unpack some cool things about my drivers. So tell us a little bit about the whole concept of motivation. And I love this conversation that we had just earlier on about engagement. And that's the title of this show is your company engaged enough and can outperform the competition, which is a concept that I never was aware of before.
Well, I talk about engagement, and yes, I work with companies, but it all starts with the individual. A company doesn't exist without people.
Right.
And people on their own. So it doesn't matter if you're a small company or a large company. When we're talking about engagement, which is an emotional connection to someone or something, we become engaged. So when we talk about motivation and motivational maps, I have one practitioner in California who is a couples counselor, and she uses motivational maps to help both parties to get on the same page, to understand each other and what motivates them.
See, what's interesting is there was a time where, I thought I could master this area of business and business management. And I had my own clinic and a beautiful med spa. And I was incredibly creative in all things that I put together, but I was hopelessly bad at managing it. And the worst part was I couldn't even find the right managers to help me make this just phenomenal. And so for me, that was a sore loss. But what was interesting, the reason I bring that up is because you said something that was very, very critical. to my understanding, is that my focus was always on one of the main things I was focused on was the culture. And oftentimes when I coach people in their business as well, I talk about culture and having people own the culture.
Mm-hmm.
But you brought something up about that disconnect that's happening out there, and that's what's so critical about the work that you do. And give us some of the statistics about what engagement ends up doing, for these companies.
Oh, engagement. As I said, there's something called the Engaged Index that got started in October of 2012, just to measure enterprise engagement versus other companies. And the S&P 500, with its dividends included, the Engaged Index companies has outperformed it by about 36%, or about 36 basis points. Okay. Now, that may change by 1% here and there, but that's what it's done since 2012. So that's saying that when people are connected emotionally to their companies, to each other, they are able to be more productive in the workplace. Everybody wins. The customer wins because they feel good about the products they're buying. Employees win because they know that their employers care about them. And the employer wins because they are making more money. And it's not just more money. Quite often, when you have engaged employees, operational expenses goes down because people are looking for ways to cut costs. They care about their company.
It's interesting. And when I had my business, I opened it up in, I think it was 2006. And me being a plastic and reconstructive and regenerative surgeon, and being in medical school and residency for a total of 17 years. So I trained for 17 years before I could open my doors. And I just found it interesting, the whole problem with that engagement. But the thing that I understood well was, and would share this with my colleagues and many other companies and say, no, you're absolutely nuts, was you've got to focus on your staff first. Mm-hmm. You've got to take care of them first. And so part of what I was doing is I was helping them understand what I thought was the right culture, which I thought was really cool in the world of Tony Robbins and all the things I learned from him. But I totally missed the boat because I missed the whole motivation part. And so what you're doing is you're helping getting that alignment, because what are the choices, that a company has?
Not Betty. And that's why you didn't hear much about the motivation part, because there was no way to measure it in hard numbers. You saw in your motivational map, we were able to say, this is how motivated you are at the moment. And here is what it looks like, and here is what it means. So you could verify that information for yourself. But probably the most important thing about that is motivation map tells you the sequence of your motivators from your highest to your lowest, which is great. Now you know what your personal sequence is. It also tells you what it is that is most important to you, the intensity. How strong is that desire within you? Because that desire can make you do some crazy things, or it can just stop you in your tracks. And I see you nodding. And the third part, and this is probably the most important one, is it tells you how satisfied, how is that need being met at this point in time? If it's being highly met, that's when you're motivated. If it is not being met at all, that's when you can become very depressed. You can become ill. That's when employers start to see lots of absenteeism and people leaving. It's all tied to your level of motivation.
So let's go ahead and talk a little bit about that. And let's see if I can get this picture on the screen. Let's see if technology is going to cooperate today. All right. So page is unresponsive. Uh-oh. I don't know what the deal is here. I was having some challenges earlier with my computer, and it doesn't want to play with me. All right, so we'll come back to that in a moment, hopefully. So, so tell us the elements of the things that you look at when it's about motivation, and you talk about achievement, relationships, and growth.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll do my best to see if I can get this this picture up for us.
Well, this assessment is based on the premise that there's 9 motivators. And by the way, before I go into that, if you ask someone, what does motivation mean to them? Some people will say drive. Some people will say a fire in the gut. Some people, there's so many different definitions for motivation. So what we'd like to do is to create a common language. So people, when we talk about motivation, you know what we're talking about. And in our world, motivation means energy, equivalent to energy. So, I mean, have you or do you know anyone who is just not motivated to do something and they just go, I just don't have the energy for that? And yet, if you turn around and say, well, would you like to do this? And it's something you're motivated about, the energy is suddenly there. So motivation is about energy, and that's what we tend to measure. And we look at 9 different motivational dimensions, okay? And they are in, like, for example, you are a spirit, a creator, and a searcher. Mm-hmm. What that means is you are purely in what we call the growth cluster. So you are somebody who wants to be all that he can be. You're always going after those things that are going to make you a better person, and your self-growth is paramount. What you already also said just now about managing the business, it made me laugh because that's a profile of somebody who is going to get bored with the day-to-day management of something. As a spirit, freedom is so very important to you. And when you're a manager, you're not really free because there's so many people depending on you for decisions and for your advice and for all of that. So that was running contrary to your top motivator.
Right.
The second one is you are a creator. You like to do things differently. You like the new, you like the innovation. You're probably coming into the office with new ideas every week.
I was.
And that drives your people crazy because they don't know what's going on next.
Right.
Yeah. And the third one is you're a searcher. You want to make a difference.
Right.
So you put those together, and that's the profile. Not that the searcher part could work very well for a manager, and does, because they too want to make a difference. But for you, that was a profile of somebody who does not like to manage. And the reason why you probably would not have found the right manager is because, one, you didn't know who would match with your style. You needed somebody who would complement who you were, who could say to you, yes, you know, those are great ideas. We'll put them here and we'll talk about it. But first, we need to get this done. So someone who was a little more systemic in the way they did things, but who understood you. Because here's the thing. I don't believe there's such a thing as personality conflict. It's motivational conflict.
Well, explain that.
Okay. Well, let's say as a searcher, you're somebody who wants to make a difference.
Right.
Someone else may be highly motivated by builder. They like the material things in life. They like the money. They like the perks, things like that. The two of you are on a team and you're trying to create a new product.
Right.
And you say, well, we need to have this, this, and this for our clients, our customers to be highly satisfied with this. That will make a difference to their life. And the other person says, no, that's going to cost too much money. We can't do that. We'll have to scale that down a bit, you know. So that puts you two at loggerheads. And if you don't understand what's going on there and the dynamics, it can create a lot of tension in a team. Now, there's nothing wrong with tension.
So does that do I understand correctly then that you're like a fly in the wall in my office?
Well, that's the first time I've been called a fly in the wall. Quite often it's like, are you a psychic? Yeah. So once they understand, like those two people on a team adds great value.
Right.
You don't have to like each other, but know that you're both contributing. Because the person who wants to make a difference is going to do everything they can to make sure the customer is satisfied. And the person who wants to make money will make sure that the company is going to be making money.
Right.
So rather than working with tension filled, you work together. How can we do this and make as much money as we can? And once you've got that kind of synergy going, you become a much more high performing team.
So whilst you're saying all these things, I've been diligently trying to get these pictures on, which we actually successfully had before Robin. So I think it's your fault, Robin. I think you took up the spot of
the blame.
So I'm kind of giving up on that because I'd rather be looking at you versus my screen over here.
Oh, he's very sweet.
But tell me a little bit. Again, I think it's a challenge today in the economy that we have just to, do very, very well. And the challenge, I think, is key that, people just don't know, actually, in fact, themselves, first of all, let alone their team, let alone their staff. Mm-hmm. So would this make sense to use something like this as a hiring tool? And I'm kind of curious because nowadays, and again, I want to emphasize this is not a political forum by any means, but there's a lot of political sensitivity and political correctness. I mean, would it be inappropriate to have somebody, do an assessment like this to make sure that they're matched? Because ultimately, as you shared with me earlier on, there's a difference between the stated culture and the lived culture within a company based on the different motivators. And could this be helpful?
It is helpful. And as a matter of fact, when I work with recruiters, when I'm training them on how to do this, we talk about the different levels of matching. You go through your hiring process, do what you normally do, make sure they have the qualifications, the experience, and everything else. And when you have shortlisted, let's take a look at what motivates them. Because it's a fact that you could hire somebody who is highly qualified, very highly qualified. You hire them and they're underperforming and you don't know why. They probably don't know why. Because what happens is people become dissatisfied in their situation. They don't know what it is that they want differently, but they need more. And they think the answer is going to be at another job.
Right.
So they look for the other job, they get there, and before long, it's the same thing. Nothing has really changed. So when you're hiring someone, their motivation is extremely important. So we look at it from, first of all, are they a motivational match for the job? Every job have some motivators that are intrinsic to that job. If you're not motivated by meeting people or helping people in a customer service, helping people, which is a customer service one, if you're not motivated by being a defender, which you want to do the same thing every day when you come in, and those are two of the really key. It's usually 2 out of 3 out of whatever, but those two are really key. If you're somebody who likes change and variety, and you take a customer service job, how long before you're bored?
Right.
Yeah. So there's that. Do they fit the motivation for the job? After that, do they fit with the culture of the company? Somebody who's highly relationship based, who wants to be friends with everyone, who is part of, they get satisfied just from the relationships in the company, and they go into work with a company that is numbers based and achievement. You have to make your quota. It's not going to work.
Right.
Yeah. So you're looking at, so that's the second thing is we look at the culture fit. And then the third thing, we look at the team fit. Okay. Is this person going to add value to the team, or do they have the complementary skills?
Right.
So Once those are done, and let's say there's a yes to all of them, the next thing I ask this one is up to the company. I look at it and I say, can you fulfill their top 3 motivators? Can you give them, in your case, I would say, can you give him the autonomy that he craves?
Right.
Is his boss going to be someone who's going to micromanage him? Because if that's the case, he'll be gone very shortly.
Right.
Now, can you make sure that he is able to get the newest ideas or newest training for whatever field he's going to be in? Because being on the forefront of the new and giving him a lot of problems to solve is something that is going to be very important for him. So if they can't give this person their top 3, they can't fulfill that.
Right.
They're hiring for turnover.
Right.
Yeah.
And people just simply don't know that. So here's my question. I have this beautiful picture right in front of me, and I apologize again. I just want to get this photo up. It's just not working today. I want to throw this computer down the drain. So my part, when I look at myself, for example, in my business, and let's see if I understand this correctly. And I'm also familiar with another assessment that I know that you know, which is called talent dynamics. Mm-hmm. And just so we're clear on all this, and with all these assessments, which is a beautiful thing about them, is they're all wrong until they're right, or it's the other way around. They're all right until they're wrong. And I think it's that way, actually. And the point is that when you get to understand yourself at a higher level, it means that everything just falls into place. And the thing that I always tap into, if you will, in all the work that I do on this platform and as a coach and as just a human being in relationship with others, as we have a relationship right now, and with the viewers, is giving yourself permission to be human. Mm-hmm. And that, I think, is such a quintessential part to our personal success, is just give ourselves permission. What makes it so much easier is understanding, too, what it is you're giving permission to. So not just accepting the fact, well, you do certain things in a certain way, and not making yourself wrong because the rest of the world is telling you that you're wrong, mm-hmm. or you've learned something when you were a kid on certain things that now you today still feel that you're wrong. And now you can get to understand why it is what you do. And what was wonderful about your assessment when you debriefed me was I went back in history and realized, wow, all right, that's why I did this. And this is what was motivating me here. And this would make perfect sense. And it's like, it's further verified that I'm on the right track. And I think that's important, because with so many things that are happening in our lives, so many distractions, so many choices and obligations that we have to make, it's also nice to have that level of confidence that you're in alignment with yourself. And that's where these assessments come in.
Yes. And
so as I look at my assessment, which was more in the growth sector, mm-hmm. Which was, as you call it, the spirit and the creator. So in my business, then you have those other elements. So you have the defender and the star and the friend, that's probably more the relationship end with
the director,
right.
builder.
Yeah. And those. So for my business, let's say I went back into this and had my own spa again. How do I connect that bridge with people that are basically opposite of me, right? And but they're in that space of motivation because they're taking care of different parts of the business that I'm not motivated in.
There is that. But it's actually the cluster analysis that helps you to know if you found the right person. Like for you and I are both growth oriented. I found the absolute perfect person to be a future partner, or to be the manager, or I'll even make them the CEO, because they'll do things I don't want to do. And that person is not growth oriented. They're achievement oriented. Their highest level is achievement. So why is that a match? We are the visionaries. We have a vision. They want to make someone else's vision come true. They don't mind. They will absolutely love making someone else's vision come true, as long as they get to check their boxes and do what they have to do. And depending on what their motivators are, how they do it.
So me as an employer then, so this is my vision, this is my creation. How do I get to find these people? Do I have to hire a recruiter? Is that the best way to do that? What if you can't afford recruiters? Because sometimes they're quite pricey.
Get the people who apply that you think fits to do a map.
Okay.
Because it will come out in their cluster analysis. And you cannot fake this. I've tried.
Okay. Yeah, I tried desperately hard to see if I could outwit the test. And, so I'm going to ask Robin. I put her on the spot. What do you think about all these assessments? Have you ever done one of these?
No, but I can tell you working here, she's exactly right, because you have to be able to gel within this organization here, and it's not too difficult. I was retired from radio after 30 years, and they actually brought me back out of retirement, and I fit into the mold because I'm an old radio dog, and so are all the guys that I work with here, pretty much, except Sedona was one of the new guys. But, she's exactly right. You've got to find people that, with me, it's the inner passion. I've always loved radio. So when I left it, I was heartbroken. So when I came back to it, I just fit in perfectly here. And they knew that because I've had experiences with the owner of the network. I interned for him in high school. So
Right.
I already knew him. And then our general manager, he was my intern 25 years ago. So we all kind of reconnected. And when I come here every day, it feels like home.
Oh, nice.
And I know today was a little crazy coming in here, but now you've got me. So welcome to my home, and hello, that kind of thing. This is what I love. This is what I thrive on. And she's exactly right. You've got to find the people that fit that mold within the company. And it's not always easy.
Well, I better send in my monthly payment so you can get a bonus, because obviously you're promoting this corporation.
I work in the radio. We don't work for money. We work for passion. There's a big
What you said there is really, really important, because it doesn't matter what people do. If they're passionate about it, they're going to do their best. I had a housekeeper, and when I first started doing maps, I had her do a map and have everybody do a map at that point in time. I wanted to practice as much as I could. And she scored highly. She was a searcher, and she scored that very highly. And I said to her, okay, you're a house cleaner, housekeeper. How does this manifest in your life? How does making a difference manifest in your life to the extent that you are so very satisfied with it? And she said, you know what? There's nothing that makes me happier to know that at the end of the day, when you come home, you are relaxed and happy because your house is in good condition.
Wow.
Yes.
Nice.
Yeah. So it doesn't matter what the job is. If you're driven to make a difference, you will want to make a difference.
So tell me this then, and I'm going to try this one more time. This picture, I'm determined. I don't give up. This is last time I'm doing this, and it's not coming up.
Love your
team. Right. So what about relationships? I mean,
well,
how can this work?
Well, think about it. In relationships, the same dynamics are at work. You get together with someone, and the relationship's going fine, and then it cools. What happened? Something that you need is not being fulfilled, but you don't know what it is. You just know that all of a sudden you're starting to look around again. You're not as happy in that relationship. It doesn't mean you have to be alike. It means that you have to know what's different, and you also have to be open to accept that. I wrote a book called Your Dollars, Your Divorce. This was before I did the motivational stuff. I was a financial advisor. That's one of my businesses, or was one of my businesses. And in that book, I said, opposites attract. And the reason for it is, let's say you're a saver and I'm a spender. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
You would be attracted to me because you see excitement in my life that you don't have in yours. And I would be attracted to you because of what I see as your stability. But that same thing that attracted us, after a while, starts to push you apart.
Right.
Yeah. But so what was important there is, if I had known then, first thing I did when I did my first map is, oh my God, if I had known this when I was a financial advisor, my clients would have been so much better off. Because what was motivating them? And motivations comes from our perception of what's going on in our heads. The one thing that this motivational map does, there are other assessments that says, yes, they'll show you motivation. And they're quite right. But they're only measuring part of motivation.
Right.
Because if they are only looking at the cognitive portion of the brain, they're looking into your past. It's what's already happened, and it's pretty static, you know?
Right.
So motivation comes from your experiences, your past, everything you have seen on television, read in a book, everything. It's all in your subconscious. Did you know only 5% of your decisions are made consciously?
Wow.
Yeah. So
I thought it was like 0.5%, but that's okay.
but the rest of it,
Not smart, are we?
the rest of it just filters through all of this crap that we have, excuse the language, in our brains, our subconscious, and we don't even know what it is. And that's a huge part, 30 to 40% of what motivates us. The other part is how we feel about ourselves today, our self-confidence, our education. How you're feeling is going to make a difference as to how you're going to act. And the third part comes from something that hasn't even happened as yet, the future. It's our expectations of the future. And you put those three together, and you have 100% motivation. So
that's a great feeling.
Yeah. And think about how complex that is, looking at past, present, and future. And most of us don't even know that what's going on in our heads. And that's what the map does. We call it making the invisible visible. It takes your motivation from your subconscious and say, hey, here is what's motivating you right now. As I say to people, I don't make up anything in that report. You have told me this. I'm just interpreting it for you.
So are you saying to us, if I understand you correctly, and please correct me if I'm wrong, is that the motivation, right, is really determining what 40% of what we do in life? Is that it?
Oh, no. Your top three motivators determine 60 to 70% of your decisions and your actions.
Wow.
So just knowing that,
yes,
we would just do things so differently.
Yes. And that's just it. It's that self-awareness. Like, had I known this is what motivated me and that I didn't like management, would I have sold my business? Probably not. Maybe not. I like variety. But I didn't have that conscious choice because I didn't know what motivated me.
Yeah, that's brilliant. Now, I'm going to try one thing. I'm very motivated to get this picture up. I'm going to try one thing. I'm going to get myself off the screen for a moment, and let's see if it shows up. Hold on a second.
My goodness, he is so tenacious.
That he is.
That I am. That's part of my motivation in there. Let's see if this. It worked earlier, remember?
Yes, it did.
And I don't know why it's not working now. It's rather frustrating. Let's see. It's making progress. Let's see. We should see you guys disappear. And it's just not working. It's not cooperating. What I think is fascinating, and because you're talking about certain things in my debrief, and please, all my friends out there, and hopeful friends, and people who really want to be friendly with me, forget it. I'm not very good at maintaining friendships. I love all of you, and that feeling is right there. But don't expect me to follow up with you and chit chat and all that kind of stuff. And that's one of the things that you shared with me. Correct?
Yes, I can verify that. He loves people. When he meets with you, it's like you haven't been apart. He'll get into that conversation, enjoys your company. But keeping in touch is very, very, very difficult for him because his mind is so occupied with his vision and all of the things he's doing right this moment. So all the good intent, you don't know. And after the maps, now I seek his input because my mind don't think from the defensive point of view. I'm very optimistic. It's going to work out. I'm very resilient.